Good morning. Welcome to a screencast how-to on drawing Bohr models. We talked yesterday about valence electrons, and we also figured out how to place electrons in their energy levels or in their orbitals. And we also talked about the rule that you could only fit 2 electrons in the first energy level, 8 electrons in the second energy level, and 8 electrons in the third energy level. Also, that you had to fill the first energy level before you could put anything in the second. You had to fill the second before you could put anything in the third. So we're going to do some additional practice today, and we're going to start drawing what's called a Bohr model, which is basically an illustration of the atom, similar to what you had on page 117, where we're showing where the electrons are placed. Okay, so the emphasis on this particular model is what's going on with the electrons. We don't worry too much about detail about the nucleus. All right, so we're going to fill in the table to get started. And for right now, what I want you to do is just worry about this part of the table, okay? Using your periodic table, if I have this clue, atomic number of 3, then I go to my periodic table and I know that lithium is atomic number 3. So I'm going to put Li and lithium, and then I'm going to fill in the rest of the information. If I have this clue, the number of protons is 7, then I look and I notice that that is nitrogen. Fill in the rest of the table. Na is the chemical symbol for sodium. Remember that sodium is on the left-hand side of the table in the first column. So I'm going to use that information to fill in the table. Magnesium is right next door to sodium. Okay, fill in the table. P stands for phosphorus. It's in column 15. Sometimes we call that column 5A. Fill in the table. And then we have one down here that the only information you have is atomic number 18. So if we look on our periodic table, atomic number 18 is argon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to encourage you to please pause the video for long enough for you to get this entire area filled in, and then we'll check it. Okay, so your table should look like this. In the element column, you should have lithium, nitrogen, sodium, magnesium, phosphorus, and argon. And then take a few minutes and make sure that what I have filled out in my table is what you have filled out in yours. And go ahead and pause it and check that. And when you're ready, unpause it, and we're going to go on to our electron arrangements. Okay, for lithium, we have a total of 3 electrons. And remember that the electron orbitals can only hold a certain amount of electrons. The first energy level or the first orbital can hold 2 electrons. The second energy level or second orbital can hold 8 electrons, and the third can also hold 8. So if lithium has a total of 3 electrons, we need to figure out where they go. I can put up to 2 in the first energy level, and then I have to put that last one out in the second energy level, and I don't use the third energy level. Okay, so of the energy levels that I used, this one was the last one I used, and there is 1 electron out there, so my number of valence electrons is 1 for lithium. Okay, nitrogen has a total of 7 electrons. I can put 2 electrons in the first energy level, and the other 5 have to go in the second energy level. I don't need the third energy level. So the outermost that I used is the second, and it's got 5 electrons in it. So there are 5 valence electrons. Then I have sodium, a total of 11 electrons. I can put 2 in the first energy level, 8 in the second energy level, and the last one goes in the third energy level. So how many valence electrons for sodium? 1, because remember, the valence electrons are the electrons in the outermost energy level that's being used. Okay, magnesium has 12 electrons. 2 in the first energy level, 8 in the second energy level, for a total so far of 10, and then 11 and 12 go out in the third energy level. Okay, there are 2 electrons in the outermost energy level for magnesium, so it has 2 valence electrons. Okay, phosphorus has a total of 15 electrons. 2 electrons can go in the first energy level, 8 electrons in the second energy level, and then the other 5 electrons go in the third energy level. So 5 valence electrons. Okay, argon has a total of 18 electrons. You can put 2 electrons in the first energy level, 8 in the second energy level, and the final 8 go in the third energy level. Okay. Argon has 8 in the final energy level, and that's all that the third energy level can hold, so it's full, and that means that generally argon's going to be unreactive, and pretty much everything else that's in that same column is in the same situation. All right, so now what you're going to do is you're going to use the information from the table to draw your Bohr models, okay? The first thing that I want you to do is draw a box in the very, very middle, and the box is going to represent the nucleus of our atom. So number 1 corresponds with number 1 up here, so the element that we're doing here is lithium. I'm going to draw a small-ish box in the middle. And in the middle, I'm going to represent the nucleus. Remember that the nucleus has protons and neutrons in it, and so I'm just going to put a P with a little plus sign equals 3. And I'm going to put an N with a little 0 because neutrons have no charge. And I'm going to put equals 4. So there's a box that tells you what's in the nucleus. And then the rings are for your electrons. Okay, let's look at the information for lithium. We have 2 electrons in the first energy level, and we have 1 electron in the second energy level. We're not even going to use the third. So we're just going to put a little lowercase e, 1, 2. That's all we can put on the first ring. And then that final electron goes on the second ring. There's no way of erasing that third ring, but really it doesn't exist because lithium doesn't need it. Okay, so that's it. That's the Bohr model for lithium. It's pretty easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right, so let's do nitrogen. Again, start with your box to represent the nucleus. In the nucleus are protons and neutrons. So protons, there are 7. Neutrons, there are also 7. And then we look at nitrogen's electron situation. We have 2 electrons in the first energy level, and we have 5 electrons in the second energy level. And again, we do not need the third energy level, but you know, we can't erase it. So anyway, it doesn't really exist if we don't use it. Okay, so we're going to write nitrogen. Okay, your job is to do 3, 4, 5, and 6. Draw them out. And at the end, I don't want you to cheat and just sit and listen. I want you to actually stop the video, do the Bohr models on the back, okay? And then begin the video again and you can check your work, okay? Okay, so here is sodium, magnesium, phosphorus, and argon. Please check carefully that you have placed all of your electrons appropriately. Sodium should have 11 protons and 12 neutrons in the middle in the little box. And then 2 electrons, 8 electrons, and then 1 electron. That bell's on the video, by the way, not your bell. Anyway, magnesium should have 2 valence electrons. Phosphorus should have 5. Argon should have 8. And notice, please, That nitrogen and phosphorus both have 5 valence electrons. They're both in the same column on the periodic table. Lithium and sodium both have 1 valence electron. They are in the same column on the periodic table. Okay, so that tells you something about the way that the periodic table is organized. All right, so check your work, make sure that you have done a complete and thorough job, and then just add these to your binder.